I wanted to bring Jalen on because there are a lot of teams in the NBA that I think need to have what I call big grown up conversations. Um, and that may be involved, a star or a superstar if they're on 1 year left in their contract. What do you do with that player? Do you try to go all in? Do you trade them now? There are teams that, have aging superstars who may be superstars. They may no longer be superstars anymore, that have aging rosters that aren't going anywhere, that may need to blow it up. And so we're going to dive into all of that. And I think objectively, one of the most interesting teams in the NBA this offseason, regardless of which superstars move, is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Because there are so many moves this Cavs team could make, and there are moves that this Cavs team needs to make. And last year at this time, we were all having the discussion, do you move Darius Garland? And I had said, yes, I think you absolutely need to move him at that point. Now we're having the conversation of, do you need to move Jared Allen? Do you need to move Darius Garland? What do you do with Donovan Mitchell when he has 1 year left on his contract? What do you do with the head coach who was objectively the worst head coach I've ever seen in the history of basketball? He plays the part of head coach. So I have it in my head what I would do if I was Kobe Ullman, the Cavs general manager. But I want to hear from what I would say is a bigger Cavs fan than myself, a man who, prides himself on being a Cavs fan. He thinks I'm sometimes very pessimistic more about the Cavs than maybe he is. Jalen, what are your own thoughts on this playoff run? Orlando and then Boston. The way I look at it is, I don't care if the Cavs won a first round playoff series and then Donovan Mitchell didn't play in, the last two games against Boston. Objectively, we were better than Orlando. And the fact that that series went 7 games, which I texted you immediately after game one and told you it was going to, and you tried to vehemently deny it. That to me is a troubling sign for the Cavs going forward. It is me.
So obviously, like first thing is I'm very, very proud of all those role players, all those guys when Mitchell didn't play for the final game. I'm very proud of guys like Max Strus, Sam Merrill, Markieff Morris for stepping up, giving us a little bit of a spark. And okay, now we're gonna get fired up here. Jared Allen, you need to go. You need. We're sending you to the Shanghai Sharks. All right. There's no reason you can't put some athletic tape on those ribs and get to playing. Oh, and Darius Garland. Oh, Darius Garland. Do I have a conversation to be had with you, buddy? Drive to the basket. You don't have to shoot threes. Drive to the basket. There's no reason why you can't get to the basket. And my God, like, why do you want Al Horford on you who's going to destroy you? I don't get it. You want that switch. That's not going to work. It hasn't worked for the past 2 games, and J.B. Bickerstaff's too dumb to see it. He doesn't know what he's doing. Oh, J.B. Bickerstaff, you should be sent home immediately. You are horrible. You have no idea how to coach Mitchell. You have no idea how to coach Darius Garland. Darius Garland, I love you, but you're going to be traded by the summer, I hope, from Brandon Ingram, but I'll get into that a little later. But, oh my goodness, was I very livid about this series.
So, I don't know if you remember, but it was right before the postseason. I don't know if you got a chance to catch. I did an interview with my good buddy from Buck Show Radio at Kent State, Christian Hinton, and we talked about the Cavs and our expectations for the playoffs. And Hinton told me something that I did not think about, and I still have it in the back of my head, is that it wasn't reported very much this year, but around the end of, last year, around the end of 2023, Darius Garland had reportedly lost, I think it was his grandmother, I believe, who he was very close to in the family. She had unfortunately passed away. And it sounds like that had something to do with Garland mentally. And it wasn't reported on much. and that could have been why he was struggling towards the end of the regular season and the postseason, which I'm not going to give as a valid excuse. I think Garland still needs to play better, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Big picture thing, though, for me, Jalen, is, and this was my one concern, as you know, when we traded for Donovan Mitchell. I had the same concern with Mitchell and Garland that I did with Sexton and Garland, which is they're essentially the same player. They're both 6'1" ish guards. And I don't think your two primary scorers and really your two primary backcourt defenders can both be the same size.
I agree. Be that as it may, a loss to a grandmother to anybody really sucks, and I could see how that could be a giant mental toll. So I didn't read that report. So if I'm going a little too hard on DG, I'm sorry. I just wish we got that all-star caliber DG that we know exists. Obviously, last season we saw it. He went to the All-Star game, in Cleveland. We saw him play like an all-star point guard. And I love DG. I wanted him over Sexton. I still want him to be a part of this team. I just think he's not a good fit. I think you weigh your options. Hopefully get Brandon Ingram once again, which I've been reading a lot. I don't know if you've read any of that.
I've seen that. Over Brandon Ingram, and you may disagree with me here, the guy I'd rather want is Paul George. I think Paul George is a veteran-ish player. I think he's been better in the playoffs. He's been hurt, but not as much as Ingram, in my opinion. Ingram's a good player. I just don't know if he can be your second option, because I don't even know. This is the next conversation that you have to have. Can Evan Mobley consistently be your second option, whether it's at the 4 or the 5? I don't know that answer yet either.
So my father, bigger Cavs fan than I am. We've been debating about this ever since the loss. Keep Mobley at the 5, get rid of Allen. There you go. Keep Mobley at the 5, see what you can get for Allen. Because Mobley at the 5 in Boston played extremely well. Had a few hiccups like he always does. He needs to go down to the Berea Bronze training camp, start catching balls with Amari Cooper to learn how to use his hands. So that needs to be addressed. But the intensity that Mobley plays with at the 5, I really enjoyed. I really like to watch.
Can I throw something at you, though? I think Mobley played very well at the 5 against Boston, because outside of Al Horford, who basically can jump about the same distance as Jokic, they don't really have a rim protector without Porzingis. Even against Orlando in that series, he struggled a little bit because they add Banchero, they add Wendell Carter, they add Isaac, they add these bigs. When you go up against a Joel Embiid in the East, or you go up against a Miles Turner even, or maybe even potentially a Giannis. Like, my concern still about Mobley at the 5 is when you play bigger teams, he still needs to gain weight, because his body is not, I don't think it's built to be a 5. I think it's built to be a Kevin Garnett or a Tim Duncan, which they both played the 4 at in their careers. I think Mobley could play 5 occasionally, but I'm worried about a 82-game grind season.
I agree, but the only problem I have with Mobley is his hands, and when he gets scared under the basket. Have you ever noticed that?
Oh, what was it? It was game 1 when Mobley, I think it was Derek White on him, and even Greg Anthony, the color commentator on the game, said, "Dunk the ball. Why are you pump faking?" Like, that's my concern about Mobley, is he doesn't have that aggressive mentality. Now, maybe he'll grow into it, but this is, year 3 for Mobley. Evan Mobley should have been, basically, this was the report I read before the playoffs. The Cavs were concerned that Evan Mobley has not made the gigantic leap that he was expected to make at this point in his career.
I agree. I like Mobley. He pisses me off more than Isaac Okoro did in the playoffs.
And I think it's just because you see the ability, right? You're like, Mobley, you got to just freaking do it. Like,
let me get this off my chest. Isaac,
Uh, now, hold on. Before you continue, let me set the stage a little bit for you. Because last year when Jalen was on this podcast, Jalen ripped Isaac Okoro. Completely ripped him. Said he never wanted to see him touch a basketball again as long as he would, basically. And then Jalen was on. I don't remember. I know you were on the Christmas special, but I
Yeah.
don't remember if it was the Christmas special or if it was when we did our buy, sell, or hold. But then you said, you know what, Isaac Coral, you're back in my good graces.
Isaac, buddy, good friend, great player. All right, listen, I'm sorry for every flack I've ever given you because you showed up, you shot well. The only problem I have is that every time you would catch the ball in the corner, you would step out of bounds. But other than that, Isaac, you played well. You got us buckets when no one else would. And I owe you the biggest apology. Live right here on Brandon's World. I am sorry, Isaac Okoro. There it is.
See, I actually disagree with you. I don't think Okoro played that well in the playoffs. I think he had a good game 7, and I think he had maybe a good game 2. But I think it was all garbage points, just like Darius Garland in game 4 against Boston, mostly garbage points in the second half. You know, game 5, like he played okay, right? Mostly garbage points to me. Um, I don't like the way that he consistently missed open threes when the Cavs needed him to make it. I don't trust him. Same thing with Karis LeVert. Sometimes LeVert would score 20, other times he'd be dribbling off his foot every time he touched the ball. I think the Cavs need a complete and utter rebuild of the bench. George Niang should not be back. I personally would take Garland and LeVert and try to package them, or Garland and Okoro and try to package them and get a big wing and a bigger 6'5", 6'6" shooting guard that you can move Mitchell to the point guard to me, bring in a bigger number 2, have a bigger small forward at the wing that then you could bring potentially Strus off the bench and be the catalyst off that bench. And then you obviously would have Mobley at the 5, and you would need to bring in what I would think would be a stretch 4, somebody that would not clog the lane, somebody, for an example, like a Kristaps Porzingis, who would just shoot threes essentially out there. Like, I think this Cavs roster needs a complete retool, and I don't know what they're going to do it.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room now?
What's that?
Your man from Akron, Ohio.
Oh, okay. So listen, you know how much I would love for LeBron Raymond James, born 12/30/1984, to win Gloria James in Akron, Ohio, to return one more time to Cleveland, Ohio, alongside his son, Bronny James, who, by the way, is not going to be a great scorer, but he'd be a great defender, and he'd actually fit on this Cavs team because it's kind of what they need. But it's not happening. LeBron is going to be a Laker. LeBron is going to be a Laker for another 3 years. They would not have fired JB Bickerstaff 2.0, aka Darvin Ham, if LeBron wasn't returning. JJ Redick, your guy who wears a backwards hat, is going to be the new head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. And it's just going to be it. And the Cavs are probably, more than likely, if I had to guess, they may fire JB, and I hope that they do. But my guess is they're probably going to trade one of Garland or Allen. They're not going to trade both, and they're mostly going to stick with the bench that they have, and there's not going to be a lot of major moves made.
I completely disagree with you, actually.
Okay, we'll explain.
You ready for this? I'm about to make so many LeBron lovers very angry with what I'm about to say about Bronny James. But Bronny James is just copy and paste Isaac Okoro, if you ask me.
He really is, but the fact that he's a guard and he's more of a guard than a 3, and that he can be an on-ball defender is what this Cavs team really needs off the bench.
He can play off the bench. That's fine. Just I can't believe I'm saying this on air. Give me LeBron James, okay? Just Mitchell, LeBron, Ingram, that'd be sweet. We'd run the East, we'd be a million times better than Boston.
Oh yeah, I mean, Boston. You've heard me say it over the past few episodes. Boston's the biggest cakewalk Mickey Mouse Eastern Conference I've ever seen. I mean, they don't play Jimmy Butler in round one. They don't play Jared Allen in round two. They don't play Donovan Mitchell. At the time of this recording, whoever wins that Knicks Pacers series, to me, is going to get annihilated by Boston because the Knicks don't have any people, and Indiana don't play well on the road of the hole, and they don't play defense. So that's the way I look at it.
I think the Knicks have a better shot to take Boston to 6, but I want the Pacers to win. I'm a Tyrese guy. But if worse comes to worse, we're gonna get I hope for a Boston Minnesota finals, and I hope the new face of the NBA, Anthony Edwards, puts that boy Jason Tatum on a couple of posters. So after that game, he can go sell them in the parking lot, make a little more extra profit. If you know what I'm saying.
That's a perfect transition to our next topic because when you take a look at the NBA, and I said going into these playoffs, this was going to be the changing of the guard NBA playoffs. LeBron was going to be out in the first round. A lot of people liked Phoenix over Minnesota. I did not. I called Minnesota the whole way on that series. Steph Curry and Golden State was going to be out early. The Clippers were probably going to be out early because you didn't trust Kawhi Leonard's health. Philly was going to be out because you can't trust Joel Embiid or anything Philadelphia sports matter, as I know. So when you look at these next 5 or 10 years for the NBA, to me, it's going to be defined by Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, who my only issue with Luka is he complains too much to the officials. And I think that sometimes Luka can be a hard watch, though he did play incredible last night at the time of this recording. Kyrie Irving has been honestly the best he's been since 2016, and that's why Dallas is in the Western Conference Finals. Then I think you have an American guy like Anthony Edwards, who I think is absolutely, and I'm not going to compare him to Michael Jordan. I think that is completely unfair. I think Anthony Edwards is his own guy. But tonight is game 7, as you mentioned, between Denver and Minnesota at the time of this recording. Do you know Anthony Edwards, if the team was to make the finals, would basically be the only player besides LeBron at his age to take a team to a championship?
Okay. Let's break this down here, right? So if he wins a championship, is he better than LeBron James?
At this stage in his career, I would have to make that argument. I think he'd be the best young player at this stage of his career, maybe even more than Michael Jordan. It took Michael to get Scotty.
Yeah. I won't get into this debate. I've gotten into it many times, lost my voice many times. But Anthony Edwards, man, love him or hate him, he is fun to watch.
Oh, he is. Remember when people tried to crown Jason Tatum as the new face of the NBA? Yeah, that's not happening.
What a bum. Oh, he had a great series against Cleveland. Oh, yeah, when you're going one-on-one with Karis LeVert, of course you're going to have a great series. I don't care who you are.
And Jalen Brown really had the better game 1. And to Tatum's credit, he had a good game 3 and game 4. Him and Brown both did to put that series away. But as we have already alluded to, in my opinion, the Celtics have the easiest cakewalk to the NBA Finals I think I've ever seen. People said LeBron's cakewalk to the Finals in Miami and Cleveland were easy. They still had to play stars. This Boston team is getting away with murder, practically, in my opinion.
I agree. I will defend you there. They are literally getting away with murder. Imagine if Allen plays. No Porzingis. Okay, so you lose game 1. You get dusted. That's out of the equation. You go back to Boston. You win that one. Go to Cleveland, right? And then you lose by what? Would we lose by 4? Would we lose by 5?
Well, game 3 it was like 8 or 10 or something like that. Game 4 was closer.
Okay, so we lose by 10. Okay, so if Allen plays, Allen's easily giving you 15, 10 rebound double. That helps. Okay, Mitchell plays. That helps. All of these guys, like there's so many factors that come into this cycle of what if. And that is the biggest what if series because truthfully, I think we matched up better with Boston than anyone else in the East.
Probably, if the Knicks were healthy, I'd say the Knicks probably match up best with Boston.
Yeah, maybe, but like I think like in terms of like no Porzingis, I think Allen is just
Yeah, no, that is true. I think the Knicks and Cavs were somewhere where the Knicks are so Jalen Brunson dependent, the Cavs are so Donovan Mitchell dependent.
right, right.
Um, but with that being said, back to the conversation at hand. When you look at, to me, it's Jokic, Luca, Anthony Edwards. Like, I don't think that Anthony Edwards is going to be LeBron and run the league for 10 years. I think that this generation is going to be more that magic bird where it's maybe 2 or 3 people running the league because I think the NBA has more talent now than ever. But we are seeing now that the NBA playoffs, and this is why I've said, Jalen, that in my opinion, the NBA regular season sometimes it's not worth watching a lot of because the playoffs are a different sport.
Any playoffs are a different sport. October baseball, nothing better than a little October baseball on a brisk night when the leaves are falling. Hockey. I don't even watch regular season hockey. I'm not even a hockey fan. But guess what? I've been watching the Bruins series because it's something to flip back and forth between playoff games. All these sports, when it's playoff time, is just so electric. It is the most electric time, in my opinion. A basketball fan, especially. I'm watching every game from game 1 to game 7. You can bet your bottom dollar. I'm sitting my cerebral palsy butt right on that couch, and I'm watching every single game. You can bet your bottom dollar.
So there are some teams, Jalen, that in my opinion, we talked about the Cavs needing to have grown-up conversations. I think the same can be said about these 3 teams. Phoenix, Clippers, Sixers.
Yeah.
In Phoenix's case, I had said, and you heard my opinion on it, I think Bradley Beal and Devin Booker are the same player. I did not understand them trading away Chris Paul. I understood Chris Paul was an older player. He's hurt. You can't rely on him. But he was the catalyst. He was the quarterback. He was the decision maker of that Phoenix team. And Devin Booker, to me, like he's just a scorer. I don't know how much of a leader Devin Booker is. And I know for sure Kevin Bleepin Durant isn't a leader. And, like Kevin Durant, he's talented, but honestly, ever since he left Golden State, you could argue, and I've been saying this too, by the way, about Giannis Antetokounmpo and Milwaukee, that they were supposed to, those 2 guys, Durant, Giannis, when Durant was in Golden State, and then Giannis when he won that championship in Milwaukee against Phoenix, those were the 2 guys that were supposed to take the mantle from LeBron and take over the league. And ever since Durant won his 2 titles, and ever since Giannis won his championship, both of those guys have, in my opinion, diminished their legacy because they've been eliminated in the first or second round now almost every year after that.
I agree. I actually was thinking about this. Like, damn, Giannis really got screwed out of a legacy.
Well, Giannis, to me, he did it himself. And, last year I heard, he was hurt, yada, yada, yada. To me, the biggest indictment on him is the fact that Milwaukee won that game against Miami without him. And then they take Indiana this year to 6 games without him. And they won 1 game with just Chris Middleton on the damn floor.
We love Chris Middleton. But I want Chris Middleton on the Cavs, but that's another story
that
for
would
me.
be a guy, I absolutely endorse that. Go get a guy who has a clutch gene.
Okay. All right. That's what we need to do. Cleveland Cavaliers, anybody from the organization, get this in. Whoever's here, you need to get it in. Please, get us Chris Middleton. I've wanted Chris Middleton ever since I saw him go off in the what final or the
year they won finals when he made those key shots against Phoenix to get Milwaukee over the hump.
But I've always wanted Chris Middleton. I just love this game. But the 2021 final really set me up. I was like, man, I wish he was a Cavalier, man. Like, damn. But you know, uh, while we're on the topic of Giannis and his downfall, I feel like this needs to be addressed too. Let's talk about a little officiating here. Okay. Do you mind if I get into this?
Go ahead, but I already know I'm going to counter because I don't give a rip about officiating. The NBA officiating is terrible. We know it's terrible, but you just got to play for it.
I am a proud grandson of a basketball official. And I texted him after the horrible calls when we played Boston. I've never seen this man so livid. In my 18 years of life, I have never seen my grandfather so livid about officiating. He always has told me, the official's always right. The official's always right. That's what he's always told me. But Jesus, oh my Lord, that was horrible. And that needs to be investigated. The NBA needs to investigate this. I'm being so serious when I say that was highway robbery. And you
Sounds
know,
like a topic for June 4th when you host the show.
oh, it'll happen. It'll happen. Just trust me. I just need to get that off my chest.
Okay, so Phoenix, obviously, we think that they need to go in a different direction. What do you do if you're the Clippers? I mean, what do you do?
There's nothing you can do. You fired Tyronn Lue.
No. You don't fire the best coach of, and yes, Tyronn Lue is the best coach in basketball. I'll put Ty Lue up against anybody. But if you want to fire him, Cleveland should have a job available. I'll take Ty Lue in 2 seconds.
Dude. Take all my money. Like, give me T. Lue and LeBron back.
Can we somehow get Kevin Love back and maybe pry Kyrie out of town as we just rebuild the whole gang?
We can bring back all the boys, and then we can have RJ commentate our games. We can have him sign the bat. Oh, that'd be.
Get Channing Frye back for the road trip and pod. Oh my god.
Oh man, that would be sweet.
So, but let me just address what you just said. Why are you gonna fire Ty Lue?
You fire Ty. Listen. This Clippers team is so in shambles. I don't even know what I'm doing with my hands, but we're in shambles here. You need to do something. You need to get T. Lue out of there. Get rid of Kawhi. Get rid of Paul George. Just scrap everything you've done, okay? Kawhi Leonard has the knees of a kid with cerebral palsy right here, okay? Right here. He's got my knees, all right?
I don't know what's so hard on my wife. That's probably the funniest line I think I ever heard of my wife, because it's probably so true.
It's so bad, all right? And Paul George, I don't even know what you're doing, buddy. I think you just show up to throw the basketball off the glass, because I really.
What about Game 4 when he saved their season and him and Harden?
PG-13. Look, I'm a big fan of you, Paul George. I own most of your shoes. Okay, I love you, but God, you have taken a massive decline. Do you remember summer of 2017 when I said I wanted Paul George?
Yes, and I pushed back and I said, no, you keep Kevin Love.
Yeah, look where that got us. Absolutely nowhere.
Well, I didn't know that Kevin Tweeman Durant was going to join the Golden State Warriors.
We needed Paul George. But now I don't want Paul George. 7 years later, I don't want Paul George. All right, you can retire too. You're done. You aren't that guy anymore. You are not that guy.
So think about this. Russell Westbrook, who I have a big vendetta with, if you will. I never thought he should have deserved that NBA MVP. I thought it was the biggest Mickey Mouse NBA MVP anybody had ever gotten. He was for some time in LA with the Lakers, the worst basketball player in the league. He redeemed himself this year with the Clippers. I'll give him credit. You got former back-to-back MVP in James Harden. You got a former Finals MVP, Kawhi Leonard. You got Paul George, who's one of the most talented players in the league. And yet this team, out of those four guys, who's the leader? The answer probably is the coach.
Well, I mean, James Harden loves to play lock-on defense on his own teammates.
Oh,
So
yeah, he for sure does. And listen, I'll say this. James Harden, this playoffs, they probably played the best playoffs in his whole career. That's saying something.
that is true. But man, that's the most defense I've seen James Harden play ever in his career.
So there's that team that obviously is a mess. And then the final team I want to get to is Philly. Because you know me, right? I have defended Joel Embiid for some time. I am done defending Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is out of my superstar category. I don't even know if he's a star. You know why? When's he available? The answer is never. And I'm sorry, I like Tyrese Maxey. He's not a number one yet to me. He's a number two. Tobias Harris is the worst number three in the history of any basketball team ever designed. He can't make a shot this side of a bar. He's as useless as Isaac Okoro is. So if I'm Philadelphia, and I love their coach too, by the way, Nick Nurse. I wanted the Cavs to fire JB last year and go get Nick Nurse. That obviously did not happen. If I'm the Sixers, I admit it finally after 8 years. The process is a damn failure, and it shouldn't have been a damn failure because Ben Simmons is a complete disaster. I don't even know if he's still in the league, let alone if he's with the Nets or wherever the hell he is. And now Joel Embiid, after 40 games of season, he's got cerebral palsy knees too. Oh, my knee hurts. Falling down like Andre the Giant every freaking time he walks down the court. So I'm done with the Sixers. I'm done with it. I can't stand watching that team to blow it up. Get Joel Embiid to New York or wherever you want to send him. Like, and to me, just start over, man. You're not going anywhere.
That was true Philly Brandon Lewis, ladies and gentlemen. That was pure Philly hatred spewing out of Brandon Lewis right there, guys.
Look, I want that Sixer team in 2019. I will tell you, it will forever haunt Philadelphia sports fans. When Kawhi Leonard went bing, 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 bing in Game 7 when he was with the Raptors, that team that the Sixers had that had Jimmy Butler that I believe would have won the title that year if they would have got by Toronto.
Kawhi Leonard, man.
That was it. And I said it at the time. I said that was it. That was their moment, and they're done. And I was right on that now 5 years later.
All that replays and Sixers fans had this. Is this the dagger? And then it rolls in, and then they're happy.
By the way, that's got to be the one. I remember. I think we did a podcast shortly after that. Had to be the luckiest shot in the history of the NBA.
We did it before. We did it the day of that game. We did it before, and I told you Kawhi Leonard's going to go off, and he hit that shot, and you were like, oh, my God.
I mean, I don't know what to make of the Sixers. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.